Welcome. Today I'm going to cover remote notifications using Vijeo Designer and EcoStruxure Machine SCADA Expert. So let's begin with Vijeo Designer. Of course, to create an HMI, we start with the Vijeo Designer development environment. We build our HMI project for a particular HMI runtime. Then we download our project into the runtime, and we have a running HMI. So things are running well, but here we're wondering, hey, how can I be notified of an issue or even get some important data on my phone, tablet, or other remote device? You know, it would be great to get a message on my phone and then I can react to the issue. That would be awesome. Well, today we can accomplish this using a standard SMTP server. This could be a local SMTP server to the process or machine, or it could be on the internet. We configure the HMI with the necessary SMTP server settings, the events that will trigger the email, who to send them to. I can even embed live data into the messages. Send this configuration to the HMI. Now, when the HMI detects the event, this could be a bit turned on, a value out of range, an alarm, could be every day at midnight, for example. An SMTP message is sent to the SMTP server, which in turn sends a message to my mailbox, or an SMS message shows up on my phone, tablet, or other device. So let's see how this is done in Vijeo Designer in real time.
So here we are in Vijeo Designer. In Vijeo Designer, there's a samples folder and a demo case project. We're going to use the demo case project for showing off the functionality of the email. So although there's an email section in this particular demo is more designed to be a self-contained demo. So this email functionality doesn't really work unless you turn it on. So, but we're going to, for the purpose of showing something not already done, I want to show you from scratch. So we're going to use the alarm section here to be able to illustrate creating alarms from nothing. First thing we need to do to get the alarms to work is to enable the alarms, but even before that, we need to try and keep this demo case project. So I'm going to save this project as demo case with email. This way I keep the original sample project and I don't have to worry about losing my original copy. So now I'm using a copy of the demo case project, and it's already opened up the project for me, the newly saved version, in a new folder. And in this version, I'm going to go into the target, options, email, and turn on email. So this wasn't on before, even though there was email in the project. Again, as I mentioned, that was more self-contained. So we're actually turning on the SMTP server functionality to send an email out. So first thing I'll need is my SMTP server address. If I'm using a port number other than 25, I need to enter it in. In this case, I am. The username and the password that I need. And this one is who is this going to appear to come from? Let's say it's coming from the Vijeo Designer demo. And if anybody wants to respond to this email, they can respond to the same address. The retry count and the timeout will remain as default. Down below here is where I really start showing the power of this function. Is I can, instead of having to remember what the email addresses are, I can start giving an alias or a name to what the one or more email addresses is going to be. So I can say this is a technician. Oops. Email. I can put a hyphen in there, that's okay. And then for the email address, I'm going to put in the same one. But I'm also going to add SMS. So some cell phone providers, in fact most cell phone providers, will offer an email address where you give them your phone number at some domain name, and it will translate that email into an SMS message and send it to your cell phone. So in my case, I'm going to put in my cell phone number at, and I'm with Bell Canada, so it's txt.bell.ca. So now we have two options for sending the email pre-set up. Now, as I start working through my project, I can now reference that SMTP setup and, of course, the email addresses that go with it. It's all set up in the background. I'm going to go to the home screen, and I'm going to create a couple of test buttons to prove my functionality out. So I'll just create a button here. We'll label it test email. And then we'll have a second one. We'll call that test SMS. Now I've got two buttons. First button, I'm going to set it to an email function. Notice it defaults to alias and technician email. I can choose SMS, but I'm going to leave it as email for right now. I'm going to say this is a test email. And then down below here, this is the body test email. Can't spell the today. Twice. Can't spell it. There we go. That's the test email button. Now we're going to do the same thing for the SMS, make sure that works. This is the SMS subject. And this is the SMS body. And yes, so we've got that all set up. Okay. So there is one last problem we're probably going to run into in this project. So if I validate this, we'll see it pretty quickly. Because we were setting up some of this other email function in here, unfortunately the email was not turned on, and this section was grayed out previously. So we just need to select something to keep this happy. It's not really applying to what we're doing with those buttons or the background process. This is because there were some other panel actions that were set up in the demo. We're just going to fill that in just to make it happy, and we're not going to worry about it because we're not going to go to those panels in this particular case. So now we can actually run this in simulation. Now this may take a little while. It's the first time this project's been built. So I'll point out the fact that basically if you have one of our Magellus HMIs that has an Ethernet port, there's a good possibility that you can use this email functionality. So this is, for example, in our GTO series, the GTU series, the IPC series that we offer, and this is whether it's Windows or non-Windows based, we have SMTP built right in. So while we're waiting for that, I'll bring up my email program. And we can see I don't have any emails in my inbox right now. These two error messages, we don't need to worry about those. This is because if it was running on a GTO, this particular demo is set up to run with our biometric switch and our illuminated switch. I'm just going to close those because I don't have this plugged into the PC at the moment. And now I've got my test email and my test SMS button. So I'll click on my test email and we'll see what happens. And there's my email. So now we can see just came in. This is a test email. This is the body of the test email. So as we would expect, the subject's at the top and the body is down there. Now if I send an SMS, I'm going to bring up my, I've got my cell phone live being shown through TeamViewer. So now I can actually do a test SMS. And we should see something show up over here. So remember, it's going through my provider, then being translated into an SMS, and there it is. So we click on it, and this is the SMS subject, this is the SMS body. So you see the subject comes in brackets, and then the body's there. If I hit it again, it should be relatively quick. And there it is. Same thing if we go back to the email. Should be able to send another email. And there it is. So now we have two emails coming in, both identical. All right, so why don't we expand this so that we can have an email sent when there's an alarm. So instead of me pressing a button or creating something more manual to send the email, I wanted something more automatic. I want to be notified when there's a problem, and when there's a problem, I want to be able to then connect in some way to the process or to the HMI to resolve the particular issue. So I need this notification to come to me automatically. I'm going to close this down. So the first thing I want to do is go to the alarm screen so I can figure out what I need to do to be able to hook it up to the alarms. So I've got two alarm displays here. One is an active display, one is a historical display. When I push this demo button, the process begins to run and generates alarms for me. So which alarms does it generate? Well, let's see. Apparently we have this alarm group 2. If we take a look in alarm group 2, we can see we have 3 alarms configured. We have alarms.alarm1, alarms.alarm2, and then alarm 3. Each one has its own message associated with it. So unfortunately, I can't add the email functionality here on this part of the group, and I can't add it at the variable level. What I can do, however, is I can start creating maybe a global action or a screen action that says when these alarms occur, I can automatically send the email. So for example, I can go into actions, and I can begin in here choosing a variable alarm and then choose the associated variable that goes with it. So before I do that, what I'd like to do is get my alarms up so I can see them next to my actions. This way I can see the messages that are already here. I can then go into this, create variable alarm, choose a particular variable. Oops, wrong one, not the alarms. I choose alarm 1. So when this is going to look at the variable and say when the alarm associated with this variable becomes active, I will trigger this event. I will trigger an email, go to the technician's email, and I'll just manually type in pipe break at point A. And I can do the same thing perhaps for the body. Keep it simple. And finish. And then I can add another action if I'd like. And this action can be, again, another variable. Alarm 2. I could say the same thing. Send an email, this time maybe an SMS, and I'll say valve problem at point 2. And I can put that in the body as well. Now for the third one, of course I could just keep adding the variable alarms if I wanted to, but I could also, if I wanted to, say, okay, when the active count is greater than 0, I could have it do something as well. So it doesn't always have to be on individual alarms. I could do something on the group level if I wanted to. So when the active count is greater than 0, so when I have any alarm that comes in to this group, so it's either alarm 1, 2, or 3 is active, or all 3, or any combination thereof, I should get an email. So it's up to me how I want to do this. In my case, I'll just keep it simple. I'll go back to variable alarm. I'm just pointing out that you can have this very configurable. Oops. Did it again. Went on the wrong one. Alarm 3. And alarm. And we'll do another email. Pipe leak at point 3. So it depends whether you want to be notified of each individual alarm or whether you just want to have a general notification of alarms on your machine or process. Very configurable, however. So now that we got those 3 in, let's run this again and see what's happening. Check down our demo messages. And here we are. So of course, no emails are going to go out right now because the way we've set up these alarms is it has to be within this process. So unless this process is running, it's never going to generate an alarm for us. So to get the alarms going, I want to bring up my alarm screen. In fact, I can even delete some of these messages so we don't have to worry about those. We have no messages, excuse me, in the box. So I'm going to start the demo. So now we're starting to generate some alarms. Alarms are coming in and out of alarms, so I should start to see some alarm messages over here. And there's, for example, one alarm. And as I have more alarms come into play, now I notice I'm not getting all my alarms in here because some of these are going to my text message. So let's see what's happening over there. So there we go. So now we're seeing some valve problems as well. So now not only are we seeing, let's minimize that, the messages come in here. There's the 0.3, but we're seeing the text messages come in as well. So hopefully that's pretty clear. One last thing I will point out though is you can have your messages, your email messages, be something other than just static text. You can embed live data into it. One of the easiest ways of doing that is to use forms. So if I, for example, go back into my little test button I have here, home, test email, you may have noticed as I was going through this that there was this section at the bottom where I can start choosing, for example, a form ID. Form 1 and Form 2 are pre-made in this project, but I also have options to attach data to it as well. So I can start attaching files, I can start attaching latest records, so on and so forth. So if I, for example, look at Form ID and Form 1, let's see what that's all about. In Forms and Reports, I can see I have a form pre-made here with some current valve information. So, for example, in this form, if I want to send it out via email, I could go into my home, play with my test email button, Form 1, apply, OK. Now, every time I send out that email, specifically by pressing that button, so right now, not associated with my alarms, just with that button alone, I should be able to see a little bit of a different email come through. And send the email. And over here, we've got a bunch of other emails from the last time I didn't refresh it. But here's the test email again. But if we look at the body of this email, so although we still have the same subject, the body has changed to that form, and it's actually grabbing live data. So these are variable data coming out of Vijeo Designer. So very, very powerful. So that sums up Vijeo Designer. Obviously, when you get these notifications, of course, you can use our other products like WebGate and Vijeo Designer, Vijeo Designer Plus. And then, of course, for a secure connection to your HMI, you can take advantage of the EcoStruxure Secure Connect Advisor and be able to remotely troubleshoot not only the HMI, but you can troubleshoot other products that are behind the HMI.
Back at the whiteboard. Now that we have covered Vijeo Designer, let's take a look at EcoStruxure Machine SCADA Expert. So, like Vijeo Designer, EcoStruxure Machine SCADA Expert has a build time and a run time. Unlike Vijeo Designer, the run time is limited to only run on Windows-based HMIs. This can be our Magellan GTU series, IPC series, or a third-party PC or white box, as some call them. Vijeo Designer could offer GTO, which is non-Windows, the GTU series, which has a non-Windows or Windows-based rear module, or IPC Windows units only, or, of course, third-party PCs as well. So EcoStruxure Machine SCADA Expert, however, can be downloaded to, or I can provide the same development files to the runtime, and then the runtime will start. So now that the process or machine is now running, like Vijeo Designer, what do I do if I am again wondering, hey, how can I be notified of an issue or even get the data from the machine or process on my phone, tablet, or other devices? And yes, I want to react to the notifications. Again, I could use an SMTP server. I could send an email or SMS via email to my device. I could include data. But now I have the power of a light SCADA system. I can create PDFs, HTML pages, or documents. I can natively send CSV files and more as attachments. If SMTP seems a bit old school for you, maybe MQTT is an option. With MQTT, you can publish and subscribe to an MQTT server. Again, this server could be local or on the internet, even in the cloud. My devices can then subscribe to one or more topics and be notified through push services when something happens. Finally, because of the TCP/IP server and other .NET functionality that can be plugged into EcoStruxure Machine SCADA Expert, you can use third-party applications like, for example, Win911, or create your own embedded solution right into this light SCADA software seamlessly. So I'll now demonstrate at least the email and MQTT functionality, which is native. Keep in mind, much more is possible. For more information on the possibilities, make sure you contact your local Schneider Electric HMI product expert. So here we are in EcoStruxure Machine SCADA Expert. I'm running the demo project. This demo project comes with EcoStruxure Machine SCADA Expert in the demo, or of course licensed modes. But this demo has been modified a little bit. The graphics have just been enhanced. But basically it's the same functionality that's in the standard project. So I'm going to run this just so you can get a flavor of it to begin with. So if I go into Features, Alarms, I can see I have some alarms here. I have a digital alarm that I can turn on and off. And then of course I have another digital alarm I can turn on and off. And then of course I have another alarm here. I can turn it on and I can turn it off. So I've got a low and a high on the analog. That's all I wanted to show you, but what we're going to do now is we're going to turn on the email functionality and we're going to associate it with these alarms. So here we are back in the development. We want to go to the project tab, email FTP, and this is where we're going to start entering in all of our email details. So I'm going to put in my email from address, the server, the port number for my server, my login, password. Now the really nice part about EcoStruxure Machine SCADA Expert is I can test the emails right here. I don't need to go into the runtime by creating buttons and test it through there. I can do it right here in the development. So if I hit test, type in an email address I would like to send it to. I hit send, and it's going to try and send the email. If there's an error in my configuration, which there may be, yep, I spelt my server just a little bit wrong. That's okay. That's what testing's for. Test, send, and there we go. It went through this time. Good thing we had that test feature. Okay, so now let's go take a look. And there it is. So now I have my email and FTP configuration test, and the body of the message is testing. Perfect. So now I can feel confident to hit OK, and I can carry on. So just like in Vijeo Designer, we can go to the alarm screen. So this is the screen we were just playing with. There's the buttons at the bottom with the analog slider. I can go into this particular display, confirm it's alarm group number 1 that we'll be using. So where is that located? It's under Tasks, Alarms, and there's alarm group 1. And we see there's our 2 digital alarms and our low and our high for the analog. So in Vijeo Designer, I'd have to go create a script and so on and so forth. I can create a script here in Machine SCADA Expert. I don't need to do an action though, or some type of script. I can do it right in the email part. So in email settings, I just check this checkbox. Who is it going to go to? SE at the email. And I can also tell it, I don't have to configure the message. I can say, okay, fine, take whatever the message is that's here and send it in the email for me. So I hit OK, and I'm done. Close this out, saving it. Start the runtime. Go into Features, Alarms, and this is where I can, again, turn on my alarm. So I'm going to set an alarm. There's my alarm coming into play. Now we can go check the email. And there we go. So there's my email. Alarms digital 1, digital alarm number 1. So this is the tag name, and then this is the message that follow behind. Of course, you can customize these emails. In this example, when we're just using an alarm part, it's not very customizable. So let's talk about how to make something a little more custom. So we have a reporting feature that's in Machine SCADA Expert, a little more advanced than what we would have in Vijeo Designer, which uses forms, and then of course the more generic method of dumping JPEGs and such to files. Here, of course, I can do all of that and more. In here, I can go to Script, create a new script, and if I wanted to, I can send emails straight from a script. And I have two email commands I can lean upon. The first email command is pretty basic. I can choose a subject, the message, and who it's going to. That seems pretty straightforward. The second command is a little more advanced. So in this one, I have a subject message, the to, carbon copy, blind carbon copy, and then I can start attaching files. If that's not enough, of course, just attaching the raw file, I can also use commands like PDF create, and I can take the file and put it in maybe a little more acceptable format. I don't want to send a CSV file to a customer. I don't want to send out a report unless it's in a PDF format, something that's not easily editable. I can use the PDF creator to do that. Of course, you can take advantage of other Windows functions and capabilities, whether you have Adobe Acrobat installed and using a print command. The point is that you have lots and lots of flexibility to be able to send the emails. So the next thing I'm going to show is we're going to move on from email. So we're going to go into the new world. So this is in the world of IIoT. So in this world, I want to start using MQTT to be able to send a message out to an MQTT server, and then whoever is subscribed to that can be notified when it changes. So this isn't where the client is constantly being updated. I can keep publishing, and then of course the client's being updated, or I can of course do it more manually and send it basically whenever an event occurs. So let's start off by creating a driver. We're going to add in the MQTT driver. Settings. Now here is where I would put in, I need to uniquely identify myself somehow. I can call myself my MQTT client, and maybe I'll even put EcoStruxure Machine SCADA Expert on the end. I need to authenticate onto the server. In this case though, I'm going to use a public server. Obviously, I would never put sensitive information on a public server. And of course, if I was setting up my own server, I would have layers of security, such as username and password. But even beyond that, I would use things like SSL and any other method that I can to wrap different layers of my security, especially if my data is going to be sensitive. In this case, I'm going to not use any sensitive data. I'm just using a demo, so I can get away with using something a little more public, just for demonstration purposes and for time. If I did want to set up SSL though, I could start adding certificates and then of course referring to actually SSL and setting up port numbers that are a little more, I should say, not so generic for MQTT. That's all I need to configure, at least at this point in time. Hit OK. Now normally when you have a driver, you have a main driver sheet. If I use this sheet, it would basically read and write out to the MQTT server every time the tag changed. And in this case, I don't want to necessarily do that. Maybe I only want it to happen when, I have a high alarm condition or a low alarm condition. So this sheet isn't going to work for me. So I'm going to create a new sheet, and then I'm going to take advantage of this write trigger. I'm going to fill in the station ID and the header and the tag name and the address. Those are the fields I'm going to use in the driver sheet. But before I do that, I need to add some tags to my project. So the first tag I'm going to enter is MQTT underscore trigger. Next one I'm going to add is MQTT underscore message and MQTT underscore first pass. So I'm going to set the first one to a Boolean, and the second one to a string, and the third one to a Boolean. The idea is the trigger will actually trigger my MQTT message based on a condition, of course, and then the message will be set dynamically, and then this will tell me whether I just went into alarm or whether this is a recurring situation. So that's all I need from the tags. Now I'm going to create a script to handle this. So here I'm going to set the script to run all the time, and I'm going to copy and paste a script that I have prepared. This way it saves time for everybody here in the presentation. You don't need to watch me type in code, but to summarize what's happening here is within each tag name, I can pull out a property, in this case the low property of the alarm, and when it's actually in low alarm and not through the it's the first pass, then it's going to set the message, toggle the MQTT, then set the first pass. It'll do something similar for the high. And then down below here, you can see it's going to reset the first pass if both the high and the low are not occurring. That's it. So let's try it. So I'm going to save this. Now in the driver, I'm going to set my MQTT trigger. My station, in this case, is going to be the MQTT address of the server. The header I'm going to use is EMSE/. Now this is kind of a beginning so that when I am typing in maybe a whole list and analog, a whole list of addresses here, I don't have to always type in the address EMSE every single time. So in this case, it's EcoStruxure machine SCADA expert /. Now I have a client which is already watching this particular address. So each time we're going to publish, we should hopefully hear my cell phone ding, and it's going to put in the value of this message into the EMSE/analog topic on the MQTT server, and then my phone will be notified because it's subscribed to that. So let's just close this off. Save, yes. And now it's saved as number 1. So putting this all together, let's see if we can make this work. So here we are in the runtime, features, alarms. There's the analog value. I'm going to bring up my phone. Apparently I have 4 updates available. I'm using a program called MQTT Snooper Service. So this is basically a program that runs in the background on my phone, keeps me logged into the MQTT server, subscribed to the server, and of course it will let me know through notification when, in this case, when I have an alarm. So in this case, I can start playing with some of these features and see if I can get it to ding. So you may hear it through the microphone, my actually phone ding. Unfortunately, I can't have them both at the same time, just the way this demo is set up. So I'm going to try lowering this. And there we go. So now I'm starting to get some messages. So now if we go take a look at my phone, we can see that I've been getting, here it is. So EMSE's analog, 41 bytes worth, analog high alarm, and it even puts in the value. So why did it put in the value? If you paid really close attention to the script, you would see that I actually embedded live data in the message. So if I go into my script, you'll see right here. So I'm going to put in the message analog low alarm and the value, and then I embed the live data. So this is totally customizable. It could actually be a number, it could be a really long message. Point is, this is the power of IoT or IIoT. So just to summarize, obviously now that you've been notified, of course you can remote connect to the EcoStruxure Machine SCADA Expert. We have various thin clients. Of course, you can use EcoStruxure Secure Connect Advisor to get a secure connection back to the site, and in turn not only access the runtime itself and perhaps the development of the EcoStruxure Machine SCADA Expert on site, but you can access devices that are behind it. Thank you very much and have a great day.